The following podcast contains bizarre theories, strange facts, and some out-of-this-world opinions. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you trust the government. It's 2023, Las Vegas. A bright flash cuts across the sky, it's caught on police body cam, seen by hundreds, and then it's gone in an instant. Moments later, a 911 call comes in. There's something in our backyard, 8 foot tall, not human. Police rush to the scene, they find a circle scorched into the ground, tools knocked over, and a family too scared to go near a window. But no crash site, no debris, no explanation. Then, silence. The footage disappears, and the family vanishes from the public eye. What happened that night? Was it aliens, a secret military craft, or the biggest desert cover-up since Area 51? Welcome to Conspiracy. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy, the podcast where I dive headfirst into the weird, the wild, and the wonderful world of conspiracies. I'm Ash, and I'm your host of Conspiracy. Quick disclaimer, this is a comedy and entertainment podcast. I joke, I rant, I spiral into tangents, and it's probably not to be taken for gospel. You get the gist. Now, if you're new here, first of all, welcome to the club, and just a reminder, I release episodes every single Wednesday, so make sure you're subscribed. And secondly, yes, this is the podcast that's all about curiosity over chaos. We're not here to scream, the lizards are coming, although they might be. We're here to look at the facts, the fiction, and the really weird bits in between, while having a laugh, obviously. Every week, we dig into the biggest conspiracy theories, the world's strangest mysteries, missing people, true crime, cover-ups, you name it. If it sounds too wild to be true, we cover it, and somehow still kind of make it make sense after a pint. If you've been listening for the last few weeks, you'll know the format by now. We got the main theory of the week. Today it's the Las Vegas UFO incident, and let me tell you, this one's weird AF. So I'll be presenting to you guys what we can find online, I'll pull apart the story, explore the theories, weigh it up against the official narrative, and see which one actually wins. Later in the episode, we've got Headline of the Week, where I pull apart a recent headline in my infamous reporter voice. If you've been here for a while, you know what I'm talking about. Then we have Tinfoil Confessions, a story sent in from one of you guys. So stick around to hear if it's yours this week. And finally, I'll spin the Wacky Wheel of Weird and cover a 5-minute theory that's outrageous. This week's a corker. And don't worry, there'll be plenty of tangents along the way because you know I can't stay serious for longer than 12 seconds. Last week we talked about the mysterious disappearance of Flight 914, the plane that took a 37-year detour through time. This week, we're not looking to the skies for answers, we're looking at what fell out of them. Because when glowing objects crash into someone's back garden, aliens get blamed, and the cops show up with GoPros, you know we're in for a night of pure chaos. And before you say, Ash, you've been watching too much X-Files again, guys, this is real footage, and this story has everything. Real police body cam footage, audio recordings, missing witnesses, and enough government silence to make Area 51 look like a gift shop. So grab your tinfoil hats, top up your pints, and let's break down one of the strangest nights in modern American history. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll be side-eyeing every garden shed within a 5-mile radius. Let's dive in. Viva Las Vegas! Let's go. So, it's the 1st of May, 2023. It's a calm Tuesday night in North Las Vegas. Temperatures were sitting around 26 degrees, and it's just an ordinary night, right? Until it wasn't. At exactly 11:50 PM, Officer Gomez is on a routine patrol when his body cam catches something streaking across the sky. It's a flash. It's bright white, trailing green and orange flames, and it's so vivid it lights up half the block like daylight. It teared silently through the sky, descending behind the suburban rooftops. And just like that, gone. But seconds later, dispatch radios start going haywire. Reports coming in from across the valley, A dozen, then 2 dozen calls. Something huge just fell from the sky. Some say it exploded, some say it vanished. The FAA confirms nothing on radar. The McCarran Airport has no missing flights. NASA says there's no known meteor showers, and SpaceX did not have any launches that night. So, what on earth was it? Whatever fell didn't fall out there in the desert. It fell in town, in a residential neighborhood just 10 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. So if you can imagine that, it's almost midnight, you're winding down, maybe watching Netflix, maybe scrolling TikTok, maybe getting up to now good, and suddenly there's a boom outside your window that rattles the fence and makes the dog go ballistic. And that's what locals reported. A sound like a sonic thud, followed by lights so bright they lit up the living rooms. Then, silence. The next few minutes, absolutely nothing. There was no alarms, no smoke, no debris trail, just that heavy, weird quiet, the kind that makes your stomach drop because you know something's off. A few blocks over, one family, the Barrio family, they're outside. They've been working on their car when they see the flash overhead. They say it looked too controlled to be a meteor. Then they hear a crash, and something hits the ground behind their property. Moments later, the air around them changes. They described it as charged, like the static you get before a thunderstorm. Their tools started vibrating on the ground, their dog started barking, then cowers and refuses to move. So they grab torches, they head towards the backyard, and there it is. A circular indentation in the dirt, about 10 feet wide. The air around it smells burnt, and somewhere beyond the tree line, something moves. They freeze, there's no sound, no wind, just the crunch of gravel as something takes a step forward. From behind the fence, a faint shimmer. 2 large, reflective shapes, like eyes, catch the light. And that's when the family bolts inside. They lock the doors, draw the curtains, and make a phone call. Minutes later, the 911 dispatcher picks up. And what happens next is one of the strangest calls ever made in Nevada. Because this isn't just another I saw lights in the sky story. This one's got recordings, police reports, body cam footage, and a silence from officials that make you wonder, did something land in Las Vegas that night? Or did something wake up? Okay, let's take a look at some of the 911 calls and the police response. So, it's about 12:25 a.m. when dispatch gets the call. A young man, terrified, breathing hard, voice trembling, he tells the 911 operator, there's something in our backyard. Now the dispatcher tries to calm him down and asks for clarification. You can hear that kind of skeptical tone, like she's thinking this guy's either drunk, high, or just bored. But he insists, and I quote, I'm telling you, there's something back there. There's like 2 of them. They're huge. 8, maybe 10 feet tall. Big eyes, not human. End quote. And you can actually hear his voice cracking in this audio recording. And the dispatcher, bless her, asks the most vaguest question ever. Okay, sir, are you sure they're not just people? He says, no, I swear, they're not people. They're not from here. And that's when she goes quiet for a second. Because remember, earlier that night, another officer's body cam had caught that bright streak across the sky. So the dispatcher knows something weird is happening in Las Vegas. So a unit is dispatched with 2 officers, including Officer Gomez, the same one who saw the light. Now here's where things start to get properly eerie. The body cam footage from their arrival is public. You can go and watch it. Just Google it. UFO Las Vegas bodycam footage. It's out there. They walk up to the property, torches out, weapons drawn. One officer literally says, "I'm not gonna lie, if this thing jumps out, I'm shooting," which feels like the most American response possible. "Oh, intergalactic being? Yeah, I'll just wing it with my Glock." So they reach the gate, the backyard is silent, too silent, dogs barking in the distance, then a faint hum like static electricity. Their flashlights sweep the ground, and there it is, a perfect circular impression in the dirt. 10 feet wide, edges scorched, soil compacted like something heavy had landed. One officer walks around it, muttering under his breath, "That's not normal, man. That's not a shadow." Then you can hear one of them whisper, "Did you hear that?" Something rustles in the distance, like footsteps. They shine the torch. Nothing's there. Another officer radios in, "We've got movement behind the fence." They look again. Nothing. Just that stillness. Now, officially, the officers never saw a creature, let's say. But unofficially, one of them later told a local reporter off record that they did see something just for a split second. He described it as tall, thin, and slightly transparent, standing between the trees before disappearing like heat haze. Imagine seeing something like that through a torch beam. No context, no explanation, just eyes, level with yours, in your own backyard. Crazy. The search goes on for nearly half an hour, but there's no crash debris, there's no smoke, no sign of a vehicle or impact zone beyond that scorched mark. So the police, they file the report and they leave. But by the next morning, the Barrio family is gone. There's no trace of them, no interviews. Neighbours said that they just packed up that same night and left. And on top of that, when reporters visited the scene days later, that scorched circle, that was also gone. Perfectly replaced with fresh gravel. Now, maybe they just didn't want UFO enthusiasts showing up for selfies in the backyard, or maybe someone else wanted to make sure nobody ever found what really landed there. Because here's where it gets shady, guys. Within 48 hours, men in black SUVs were reportedly seen circling the street. Neighbours said they were wearing black uniforms with no visible logos. One even claimed they were scanning the area with handheld devices. The local police, they say they have no record of that follow-up visit. So, what exactly happened in Las Vegas that night? Did a meteor fall from the sky, or did something arrive? And if it did someone collect it? Because it's been basically 2 years now, and no one has ever seen that family since. Their home was sold within weeks. And the buyer, well, it was a shell company registered in Delaware. Classic move. But when you hear that there's so much evidence and there's body cam footage and all the rest of it, you kind of wonder, well, how come it didn't go anywhere? Well, it actually did. It actually made it to Congress. Yeah, so before we head into our conspiracies this week, I want to take a look at the bit that takes this story out of local weird news and drops it squarely into national politics. So, on July 26, 2023, the House Oversight Committee held a hearing on UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. 3 key witnesses testified: former Navy Commander David Fravor, former Navy pilot Ryan Graves, and intelligence community whistleblower David Grush. The official hearing page and transcript confirm the scope: national security, public safety, and government transparency around UAP incidents. While the hearing centered on military encounters, lawmakers repeatedly framed the issue where recent civilian cases to argue for transparency. Media coverage explicitly linked that context to the Las Vegas 2023 backyard incident in the same news cycle. The Los Angeles Times hearing write-up includes a sidebar on the Vegas 911 call, placing it alongside the congressional push for disclosure. And that's your connective tissue. Congress pressing for answers on UAPs while the Vegas case is fresh in the headlines. So, here's what was said under oath. At that hearing, David Grush alleged a multi-decade crash retrieval and reverse engineering program and stated that non-human biologics were recovered from some crash sites, including the 2023 Las Vegas backyard story. And he also said there were things he could not discuss in public session. What the Pentagon said back was, in parallel with the hearing season, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, then head of the Pentagon's UAP office AARO, gave interviews stressing there was no evidence of alien spacecraft, and later ARO reporting reiterated no proof of extraterrestrial tech or a government cover-up. And that's the official posture. Lots of cases, prosaic explanations for the vast majority, but no aliens. So where does this Las Vegas case fit in the record? Well, mainstream outlets documented the Las Vegas police bodycam streak and the 911 call about 8 to 10 foot beings, with the LVMPD releasing audio and video. Coverage by ABC affiliates, amongst others, laid out the timeline the week it happened. So essentially, while Congress grilled the Pentagon about military UAP encounters, the Vegas backyard case was the civilian story hanging in the air that week. Front page, viral and awkward to ignore. Lawmakers leaned on recent civilian sightings to demand transparency, and the LA Times literally placed the Vegas incident alongside its hearing coverage. Meanwhile, under oath, Grush dropped the phrase non-human biologics, and ARO's boss told national TV there's no alien evidence. Two narratives, same week. Which one do you believe? So what's the next outcome for this story? Well, either Congress puts pressure on agencies to declassify more UAP info, ARO publicly downplayed extraterrestrial claims, or the Vegas case stays officially unresolved, documented call, bodycam streak, no case closed explanation, just a meteor line many locals don't buy. So in DC, they're saying no evidence of aliens. In Vegas, they're saying we saw them in the garden. So somewhere between the Rayburn building and a North Las Vegas cul-de-sac, the truth is having a cigarette. Right, okay, so let's explore our conspiracies this week and how they line up against the official narrative. So our first theory is that it was just a meteor. So let's start with the most boring official explanation, because those are always the ones that end up full of holes. NASA, bless them, came out quick with their clipboard and said, it was a meteor. Case closed. Wrong. Let's actually look at what we saw that night. The object that lit up the Vegas sky on May 1st, 2023 wasn't your average shooting star. This thing was massive. Witnesses from Utah, Arizona, and California reported it too. A fiery white orb with a green tail cutting across the sky like a wielding torch through black velvet. And if it was a meteor, it should have entered at around 12 to 72 kilometers per second, depending on the composition. And that's fast. Faster than you can blink, right? But the Vegas streak, multiple cameras caught it slowing down. Yeah, slowing down. And that's not me speculating. Even aviation analysts reviewing dashcam footage said the descent was ballistic. One ex-Air Force engineer said, you can see it curve mid-flight. Meteors don't do curves. They don't stop for tea breaks. Exactly. And then there's the sound. Witnesses didn't report a sonic boom, which you'd get if something that size punched through the atmosphere. Instead, they heard a low electrical hum and a pop, like static discharging. That's not meteor behaviour, that's something controlled. And NASA's statement, issued within 12 hours of the incident before they'd even collected atmospheric data. Come on. It's like your mate showing up late to the pub, spilling his pint and shouting, "It wasn't me," before you've even accused him. Now, here's the thing. The Vegas object didn't just fall randomly. Its trajectory was almost perfectly aligned with the Nellis Air Force Base flight corridor, an area notorious for classified aircraft testing. So what's more likely? A random meteor conveniently flying over the most surveyed airspace in the western US, or something already in the airspace going wrong? It's like saying the McDonald's McFlurry machine just broke itself. we all know what's going on. So if it wasn't a meteor, what was it? Which brings us to our next theory, and this is where it gets juicy. So, let's take a look at the theory that the backyard visitors were real, right? So now we're talking. This is the theory that turned a local story into global UFO chaos. The family's 911 call didn't describe a crash, it described a landing. So let's break down what they saw. 2 non-human beings between 8 to 10 foot tall. Large glowing eyes the size of dinner plates, greyish-green skin with a metallic shimmer when the torchlight hit them, and a slow, deliberate movement. And if you think that sounds kind of familiar, it's the classic tall grey archetype, a variation of the typical grey alien, but bigger and more humanoid. And what the family described actually matches the description of the 1994 aerial school encounter in Zimbabwe, where over 60 children witnessed beings with large eyes stepping out of a silent craft that emitted a humming noise. The same electrical feeling in the air was reported there too. And also remember the static charge the Barrio family described? That same phenomenon occurred during the 1980 Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK. British servicemen investigating a downed object reported a tingling sensation, static electricity, and temporary paralysis. Their radiation meters even spiked. Fast forward 43 years, Vegas 2023, you've got the same hum, same static, same eerie silence, same beings. Is that a coincidence? Or is it a recurring signature of contact events? And let's not forget what one of the Vegas cops said off record. I saw something, it was tall, translucent, and it disappeared. It's not your average raccoon, mate. So some ufologists suggest what landed wasn't a ship in the traditional sense, it was an energy vehicle, like a plasma bubble containing intelligent forms. So we're talking biological entities that don't fly through space, they phase through it. And before you laugh, NASA's own 2021 study on transmedium anomalies, look it up, discusses objects that can move seamlessly between air, water, and vacuum without propulsion signatures. So maybe what landed in Vegas wasn't an alien spacecraft, maybe it was the alien itself. But let's explore the official narrative and how that weighs up with this theory, because the authorities say the family misinterpreted what they saw. Stress, shadows, maybe even social contagion after the flash in the sky. But then why did multiple officers' bodycams capture genuine fear? Why did radiation readings spike? And why did the family leave town overnight? You don't just move house because of a shadow. So the official narrative, I guess, is saying, oh, it's just panic. But the theory says contact. And honestly, static electricity doesn't panic you, it charges the story. Let's take a look at our next theory, which is the military cover-up. This is the one that reeks of classic cleanup. Let's set the scene. So within 48 hours of the call going viral, the police restricted all press inquiries. Then the family moves out. Then the government SUVs appeared. And then radio silence. That chain of events screams containment protocol. Now, Nellis Air Force Base, just 90 miles north, has a history of experimental retrievals. Declassified project Have Blue documents show the US military has been testing stealth and radar cloaking aircraft in that corridor since the 1970s. The area has also been tied to secret drone tests that use electromagnetic propulsion. And you're telling me that when something fiery crashes from the sky right near Nellis, they're not interested? Yeah. So the best part, in a leaked air traffic log from the night in question, there's mention of a temporary no-fly order issued 20 minutes after the bodycam footage. Official reason, unconfirmed, debris activity. Translation, something's on the ground, don't fly near it. Yeah, mate, because the FAA is always that efficient. They can't even find my lost suitcase, but apparently they can scramble a no-fly order in 10 minutes flat. So, picture it. Something's gone wrong, it falls or lands near Vegas, locals call it in, police arrive first, military moves in seconds, and then the story gets buried faster than your ex's dodgy Facebook posts. Officials claim no government involvement, simple meteor public hysteria. But military logs show an airspace lockdown minutes after the incident, and witnesses saw unmarked SUVs. If they weren't covering something up, Why the secrecy? Why the fresh gravel patch over the scorch mark? The government denies, the timeline betrays. You don't clean a yard that fast unless something dirty happened there. Our next theory is that this was a staged hoax and a social psyop. So what if the whole thing was fake, but not by the family? Think about it. The perfect viral event. A police body cam clip, which adds legitimacy, a relatable, normal family, real-time radio chatter, and a weird mix of evidence that's just enough to make you argue about it online for weeks. It does kind of sound like a perfect social experiment. And who benefits from that? The intelligence community. Why? Because public UFO perception is being engineered. It's not a wild claim. If you look up Operation Mockingbird, 1950s to 70s, where the CIA literally funded media outlets to shape narratives. Today, you don't need newspapers anymore or news channels. You got TikTok, and it's cheaper. So what if this was the next evolution? A controlled leak to test how social media reacts to unexplained aerial phenomena. We all know Project Bluebeam's in the works. We all know it's coming. So is this the first step? Measure the hashtags, monitor the spread, see how fast the skeptics versus believers ratio balances out. It's kind of data gold, right? Especially when you got the Pentagon's RO actively studying public response to UAP disclosures. Basically, the Vegas UFO wasn't for us to see, it was for them to study. And if it was a psyop, it worked. They said hoax, we said what if, and that's the power of engineered confusion. Our next theory is one for the sci-fi lovers, but weirdly has some physics behind it. So, several physicists, including Dr. Jack Sarfati, theoretical physicist involved in early quantum mechanics discussions, have suggested that some UAP events might not be crafts at all. They're transient space-time distortions. Tiny moments where two timelines overlap. If that's true, then the Vegas object could have been an overlap event. A glimpse of something or someone not meant to be here. It explains the translucent beings. It also explains the hum, the static, the sudden vanishing. It could also explain why radar didn't pick it up. Because for that brief moment, it actually wasn't in our dimension completely. And I'm just imagining like it's stuck halfway between universes going, wait, this isn't Zeta Reticuli. This is a bloody cul-de-sac. Some theorists even tie these events to the Philadelphia experiments, that alleged 1943 Navy test that supposedly made a ship disappear. Eyewitnesses from that event described distortions in light and phasing, same language used by the Vegas witnesses. So maybe this wasn't first contact, maybe it was cross contact. And when these type of events happen and no one can explain it with our physics, then maybe it wasn't our physics at all. So where does that leave us? NASA's meteor story doesn't fly, the family's descriptions match known close encounter patterns, the military's timing is suspect, the silence after, deafening, and the truth, well, that's probably sitting somewhere in the desert, behind a no trespassing sign that glows after dark. So after going through all of the theories this week, I'm going to have to give the win to conspiracy, because there's just so much damn evidence that goes with this. Yeah, I think it's one of the most well-documented sightings that we've had, and especially because it happened only a couple of years ago. It's modern, and it seems legit. Why did that family go missing? That is weird. I'm going with conspiracy this week because it does seem like something fell in that backyard. And that brings us to the end of the Las Vegas UFO incident, or as I like to call it, close encounters of the cul-de-sac kind. So let's recap. A fiery object streaks across the Nevada sky. A terrified family calls 911, claiming to see 8-foot-tall glowing figures in their backyard. The police respond, body cams record something, and then the footage goes dark. The family vanishes, their home gets bought overnight, and the next thing we know, the case is being mentioned in a US congressional hearing. Yeah! Officially, NASA says meteor. Unofficially, a whistleblower says non-human biologics. And somewhere in between, a local cop swears he saw something tall, translucent, and not of this earth. So if you ask me, the Vegas sighting wasn't an accident, it was a slip. Something crossed over that wasn't meant to, and when it did, someone somewhere scrambled to clean it up before the rest of us noticed. Unfortunately for them, we noticed. And now, as we're at the end of the main theory of the week, you know what time it is. Let's cross over to the studio. This week's top story: an Afghan migrant has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for threatening to kill Reform UK's leader, Nigel Firage, in a TikTok video. And yes, we've officially reached the point where terror threats have a comment section. The man, Fayez Khan, crossed into the UK by small boat and apparently thought the best way to make his mark in British politics was by tattooing an AK-47 on his cheek and pretending to shoot a politician online, because nothing says peaceful integration quite like face ink and finger guns. In the clip, Khan mimed gunfire, said pop, 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 and gestured at Firage, all because of Nigel's recent video on immigration. Firage told the court he was genuinely worried for his safety, which, to be fair, is understandable. That man's been dodging metaphors and milkshakes for years. Judge Karen Stein called the video deliberate and serious, beyond mere abuse, which in translation means that the TikTok beef just got upgraded to national security. Now, officially, this has been treated as an isolated incident, but theorists and frankly a lot of blokes in pub gardens think it's something else entirely. We now go live to our first correspondent, Tom, in London, outside Southwark Crown Court. Thank you, Ash. It's chaos here. Supporters, protesters, and one guy selling unofficial pop 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 t-shirts. Many are asking if this trial is about safety or symbolism, a warning to critics of government policy. Others say Khan's just the latest example of how social media platforms radicalise angry people faster than Deliveroo delivers kebabs. Back to you in the studio, Ash. Thanks, Tom. Stay safe out there, and if anyone points a camera at you, just duck. Now we cross over to our second correspondent, Gaz in Birmingham, who's been monitoring the online reaction from his mum's Wi-Fi. Yeah, cheers, Ash. Twitter's gone nuclear. Half the timeline's calling Khan a terrorist, the other half's calling him a scapegoat, and somehow, in true British fashion, hashtag pop 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 is now trending alongside Bake Off spoilers. It's a nation divided, mate, but one thing unites us: everyone's arguing about it on their phones while sitting on the toilet. Back to you in the studio. Solid field work as always, Gaz. Now, reports just in suggesting Khan may have used a false identity when he entered the UK, having already been convicted in Sweden for violent offences. So either UK's border checks are asleep at the wheel, or someone wanted this chaos to slip through just in time for a political narrative. Because this trial didn't just explode on TikTok, it blew up right as the UK government's pushing tighter migration laws and social media censorship bills. And nothing strengthens a political agenda quite like fear. So, was this just one unhinged man chasing clout, or a conveniently timed crisis crafted to justify more control? Either way, the moral of the story is simple. If you're angry on the internet, maybe just write a tweet, not a manifesto. Pop pop politics, the TikTok threat heard around Westminster. That was your headline of the week.
13-4 Confessions.
Alright, it's time once again for Tinfoil Confessions, the part of the show where you lot send in your weirdest stories, and I sit here smiling that I've become an official lost property office for aliens, ghosts, and government cover-ups. This week's confession comes from Ethan, who's writing in from, and I quote, somewhere in Texas, which, let's be honest, already sets the scene for chaos. Now, I'm toying whether to do Ethan's email voice in a Texas accent or not, because I'm probably going to butcher it and offend all of Texas. But, oh, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Okay, so, Ethan writes, Hey Ash, love the podcast. Thought you'd get a kick out of this one. So, last summer, me and my girlfriend rented an Airbnb just outside of Austin. A little cabin, middle of nowhere, real off-the-grid vibes. You know the type. Edison bulbs, mason jars, and a note that says, please respect the spirits. Anyway, first night I noticed the bathroom mirrors warm. Like not steamy shower warm, radiator warm. Which was kind of weird. Well, next morning it was cold again. I figured maybe it's one of those fancy anti-fog mirrors. Day 2, it got warm again, but only at night. So I took a closer look. And behind the glass, there's this faint red glow like an LED light. So I messaged the host and they replied instantly, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a demister feature." Well, I'm from Texas. We don't have demisters. We just open the window and pray. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Americans don't demist. You guys detonate. if the mirror fogs up, they're like, "Fetch the gun." Sorry. Anyway, it continues. Well, curiosity got the better of me, so I unscrewed the frame, which, by the way, was ridiculously easy, and behind the mirror was a micro camera wired into the wall, like full-on spy setup. I traced the wire down, it runs into a hole in the drywall behind the vanity. I messaged the host again, no response. Well, the next morning, the listing's gone, vanished off Airbnb. So I call Airbnb support and they say, and I quote, "Sir, this property does not exist on our system." Well, excuse me, but I literally have the keys and I'm standing inside the non-existent bathroom. yeah, you're like, excuse me, I'm in the apartment, I've got the key, I'm in the bathroom, like, I'm inside the house, you're telling me that doesn't exist, that I've booked through your platform. Like, what's going on? Sounds like you're gonna be ending up on a watch list, not get refunded. That is weird though. That's weird. You're just being like recorded and then your Airbnb vanishes. Yeah, I would get the fresh hell out of there for sure. Wait, he continues. So I go back to my app and the booking's gone. The email confirmation was also gone. And the host messages was deleted. It's like the whole thing was wiped from existence overnight. The only proof I have to this day is the mirror itself, because I took it off the wall and brought it back home. It's sitting in my garage right now. Every now and then, though, the LED still blinks, even though it's not plugged in. What? That's mental. You took the mirror. Well, if you're going to record me, I'm going to take your mirror. Brilliant. But also, isn't that like how every found footage horror film starts? Like, guy steals haunted mirror, next thing you hear him in the middle of the night. And also, do you know what gets me? Airbnb always kind of asks you, don't they? Like, how was your stay? Leave a rating. Like, how do you rate being filmed while you pee? 5 stars for lighting, 1 star for privacy. And also, your place was off the grid. Yeah, it was off your grid, maybe. Not off the government or whatever was recording you. That is mad. So, but did you stay? Like, did you just stay or did you move out? Did you take it off the wall and, like, disconnect the camera and just stay in the house? Or did you ever hear from the owner again? Like, I have so many questions. Also, you hear this a lot, don't you? Like, people recording people in Airbnbs and hotel rooms and stuff. I think there's like a light thing that you can buy to check if a mirror is like a 2-way or something like that. Yeah, kind of scary though. But at least you got a mirror out of it. Also, like, what are the options? What are the actual options when it comes to this? Like option A is that you've stumbled into a low-budget OnlyFans operation run by tech bros with too much money and not enough morals. Option B is you've rented from a training property for AI surveillance, like a literal smart home test site, I guess. And when you found this footage, they've kind of just scrubbed it and whatnot. Option C, it's like some fucking creep who is just like watching you shower and stuff, which is weird as fuck. Or D, I guess you just angered the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein's interior decorator. I don't know. Well, whatever the truth is, I'll say this. Next time you brush your teeth, check the mirror. If it's blinking red, don't wave. Wink twice if you're being recorded. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Ethan, for sending that in, and hopefully I didn't butcher it too much with my Texas accent. I do really appreciate you taking the time to write that. And if you've got a story like Ethan's, I want it. So send it in. DM me on Insta or TikTok @conspiracy, or email me conspiracy@gmail.com. because your madness fuels this segment, and who knows, next week it could be your tinfoil confession.
The Wacky Wheel of Weird.
And now it's time for our final section, my favourite bit of chaos, the Wacky Wheel of Weird. Here's how it works. I've got a big old digital wheel, each slice of it covered in the strangest, silliest, most ridiculous conspiracies known to mankind. These are the ones that aren't quite big enough for a full conspiracy deep dive, but do deserve 5 minutes of pure chaos. Some of these will make you laugh, some will make you scratch your head, and some will make you question whether humanity's collective brain has literally melted. So without further ado, let's see what madness the universe wants us to explore today, and let's spin the wheel. That I definitely didn't budget for. And today's wheel lands on the Time Traveller from 2027. Yeah, let me put it up. Okay, so now this one is a proper internet legend. A Spanish bloke named Javier, TikTok handle Unico Sobreviviente, I'll spell it for you, UNICOSOBREVIVIENTE. Unico Sobreviviente. Okay. I'll also put it in the, episode description as well, because, yeah, it was long. But anyway, Unico Sobreviviente does translate to only survivor. So he claims he woke up in the morning in Valencia, walked outside, and the world was completely empty. There was no people, no cars moving, no dogs barking, just silence. The man basically spawned into a post-apocalyptic version of Spain, but with 5G still working. Which, honestly, is the most unbelievable part of the story, because 5G never fucking works. Not even in England or London or anywhere. Can never get service anywhere. What is going on with that? Also, imagine you step outside, streets dead quiet, no humans, no noise, and your first thought is, better start a TikTok series. So, anyway, he starts posting videos. We're talking shopping malls with lights still on, cars parked but engines cold, and clocks frozen at random times, like someone hit pause on reality. And every video's got this eerie kind of I Am Legend vibe, except instead of Will Smith and a dog, it's just Javier and bad Wi-Fi. Now, according to him, it's the year 2027, and somehow his phone still connects to our internet, but no one can contact him directly. He says he can see our comments, but can't see us, like he's scrolling through the past. So basically, Javier's living in a parallel universe, and still dealing with the algorithm. Man escaped time and space, and TikTok still won't push his content unless he uses trending audio. So what really kicked off was when viewers started challenging him. They'd comment, go to this McDonald's, visit this police station, show us the airport. And he actually did. Multiple locations, all empty, doors open, lights on, not a soul in sight. Even landmarks like the City of Arts and Sciences were deserted. And he also shows dates on digital clocks and timestamps, proving it was years ahead, 2027. Yeah. Now, obviously, skeptics reckon it's all CGI or clever editing, or that it's just a viral marketing campaign for a Spanish TV show. Which, obviously, of course it is, because every time the internet finds a possible time travel or anything that goes wrong, there's always a Netflix series coincidentally being filmed nearby. Like what they're filming for, Love Island Multiverse. But before we take the mick too much, it does get properly freaky, because in one video, Javier films a hospital, every light on, equipment running, but no patients, no staff, no alarms. Then he pans over to a mirror, and there's no reflection. You hear me? No reflection. Not him, not the phone, nothing. The internet went mental. People started saying he's stuck between dimensions, that he's somehow shifted timelines during sleep, like when your phone updates overnight, but reality didn't finish downloading it, I guess. And just when the hype peaked, Spanish police actually got involved. And they actually confirmed some of the locations were really empty, and some of the videos are legit and not AI and not CGI. So, if it is fake, someone's gone to a lot of effort to clear an entire city and to bypass AI detection. And in one of his most recent videos, he left a note in a public square saying, "If you find this in your reality, you're my hope." And someone found it in our timeline. Same handwriting, same bench, posted by a random Spanish tourist. So, what's going on? Is Javier a hoaxer, a genius editor, Or did he actually slip into a parallel universe where humanity's gone and only the TikTok servers remain? Either way, if you're listening, Javier, mate, try going live on Instagram next time. We got questions. So what do we think, team? Is this the world's best hoax or the worst case of cosmic FOMO? And more importantly, if you woke up alone in 2027, what's the first thing you'd do? Me, I'd finally post without worrying about engagement. Because apparently, even the apocalypse can't stop the algorithm. And that was your Wacky Wheel of Weird. And that, guys, brings us to the end of this week's episode of Conspiracy. We've covered aliens over Vegas, haunted Airbnb mirrors, and a bloke casually time travelling on TikTok. If your brain's not melting at this point, check your temperature. You might already be in 2027. Now look, whether you believe the official story or the out-of-this-world theories, that's the beauty of it. We're not here to prove or preach. We're just here to question and laugh and peel back the weird little layers that make you go, wait, what if? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow Conspiracy wherever you listen. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Pocket Casts, all of them. And if you're feeling extra generous, drop a 5-star rating, please. It helps more curious minds find their way into our little tinfoil cult. You can send in your tinfoil confessions, your weirdest stories, creepy encounters, or theories you swear are real, straight to conspiracy@gmail.com. Or slide into my DMs if you're feeling cheeky on Instagram and TikTok @Conspiracy. You never know, your story might be next week's madness. This was Conspiracy, and until next time, keep your tinfoil hats polished, keep questioning everything, and remember, the truth is out there.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy.